today topic is about building and growing great products. We always talk about growth, we always talk about scale, and we always talk about fantastic products, right? But again, if we go down to the philosophy of these great products, right? What make these products so great, right? So it basically goes down to that need and the problem and basically the solutioning. So everything is actually at the intersection of need, problem, and solutioning. So we use TikTok, right? We use Grab, we use Gojek, we use Tokopedia, we use Quora, right? So everything is solving or addressing some sort of problem, right? So as a product manager, it is very important for us to understand that what is the vision, mission of the product and what problems we are trying to solve. And that's why the big question is always, as a product manager, how do we know if our players, customers, or users enjoy playing or using our game, product, or service, right? So that's the basically step zero of the product management. It is very, very important to understand who are our customers, who are our users, what they basically like using about the product, what basically the gaps a product is trying to meet, and what basically they like the most, right? It can be a game, it can be a product, it can be a service. So let's how many of you know about Quora? Maybe if people can type in the chat window, like how many of you know about Quora, or how many of you actually use Quora? Okay, just two response. Anyone else would like to share about Quora, if they like, if they have used? Got it. So I just know it but never use it. Adilian said, I know but barely use it. Jess also say, I know but don't use it. So all right, so looks like people are aware of Quora but they never used it. Maybe in this part of world, Quora is not very well used. But again, Quora is basically a platform to gain and share knowledge. The founder basically came up with this philosophy that there is so much of knowledge in the world which is not captured or documented anywhere. And basis those thought and basically that vision, he basically created a platform where people can come and they can pick their area of interest. They can contribute to the community. They can learn. Hey, for example, when I actually had to come to Indonesia, I basically use Quora as a platform, like how Indonesia as a country is, right? What are the different parts of Indonesia? What is the population, etc., etc. So I actually used Quora a lot. It and actually helped me a lot in terms of knowing the unknowns about the world which I don't know. So let's talk about like what about Quora, right? So who are the potential users here, right? So this is like a two-sided platform. So there are contributors who basically come to the platform. They upvote to a question. They basically follow a topic. They contribute to a question. So for example, a very typical use case will be what is product management, right? So it's one of the most popular topic on Quora. If you follow, you will see one of the best people in the industry have basically contributed to that question. So basically they give their views, because product management and project management is the most misused or most confused terminology across the board, right? So many people are trying to answer and give their thoughts or views, like what product management is, how is it different from project management, etc., etc. But again, it is on the consumer side, right? But then there is another consumer of this platform Quora, which is called marketers. And as you know, there is this Facebook ad, there is an Instagram ad. In a similar way, there is also Quora ad. So once you have a daily active user, which basically comes to your platform, they use or engage on your platform. So it actually becomes a very good opportunity for marketers to introduce or expose some brand products to this set of users who are coming to the platform. And this platform is basically driving the monetization for this platform. So what they like most about this product, contributors, they love writing, reading, and contributing to a topic. Marketers, of course, they're always deal hunter. They would love to acquire customers at the lowest cost. And what are their products? They have a content product, and they also have a ad product, which is called Quora for Business. So, all right, let's move to understanding and improving your product health. It's very important for a product manager to understand where we are right now. What are my product metrics? And usually product metrics are a kind of signal to your business health. So imagine if your daily active user is going down from your day of acquisition, it means that something is wrong. Either the campaign on the marketing set by so digital marketer is not performing very well, or maybe we are targeting a very wrong audience, or maybe the audience is correct, or maybe there is some problem in the onboarding part of the product. Maybe there is something broken on the sign up part, or even if the sign up part is okay, maybe it's very difficult for a user to discover the product they would like to use, right? So typically these metrics are indicators of your product health, and usually these metrics will help you deciding what are your available growth drivers, and how you can basically pick the right metric for next 6 months, next 1 year, and you can create the roadmap around it. So one quick question, maybe please feel free to use this chat section to share your thoughts and views. According to you, for a product like Gojek, what is the most important metric to measure? So Jess said daily active user, churn rate. So it depends on the objective. All right. All right. Fair enough. All right. So can everyone see my screen with this amazing graph, right? And I'm sure everyone knows about retention, acquisition, of a product, right? So this is a beautiful retention curve or graph, and in the x-axis you can see the days from acquisition. On the y-axis you can see like percentage active monthly users, and on the right side you can see hash number of users. So can anyone tell what is the retention rate here, and what's good and what's bad thing about this retention curve? We will spend 1 minute on this, and then I will share my views. How does this retention rate or retention curve look like? Okay, so Adeline said it goes down month by month. All right, good observation. The user going down. Okay, you are very close to the actual answer. Okay, so if you see on D0 or M0, which is the day on which the customer was acquired, on that day the MAU is very high. There is a flat line because anyone who acquire on the day one, he basically definitely explore and use the product, right? But as you see, as days are passing on, the product line or basically the retention is going down, 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 down. And suddenly it becomes asymptotic to this x-axis, that is days from acquisition, right? And if you see the hash number of users, it basically started almost very close to the percentage active users, but it in the end it is basically touching the x-axis. So which means in this month, the number of users which we acquired, at the end of the month, we are not having any of this user, right? And the percentage active users, it looks like from the past, there are, it's like, you know, the flattish line is there, marketing run campaign, the active user goes up, it again goes down, 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 down. So it means it's a leaky bucket, right? So whatever users we have, either, you know, there is no further potential to the number of users which we can target, or it means we are then targeting the wrong set of users. Or if we are targeting the right set of users, it basically gives some sort of signaling that either the market potential is already capitalized, or there are gaps in terms of you know, product market fit if the product is in a very, very early stage. Usually you will see these kind of graphs in a very, very early stage company when the product market fit is actually a question, or basically company is still in a very, very early stage where they're still trying to figure out that whether this product have a market fit or not. So yeah, so here is the growth playbook. One second. Yeah. So step one is you know, understand the core loop, and why this growth loop is because once you understand your product market fit is there, it's very important in a very, very early days to understand what is these one or two things which are actually empowering my product and basically maximizing the usage of my product. So that's why in a very, very early day, it's important to understand or basically create our own growth playbook. And for that growth playbook, you basically need four things. Understand the core loop, model our growth, identify leverage. And once these three things, the basic foundation is set, then basically we create, prioritize, and, you know, design our roadmaps around it. So the step one is basically establish the core loop, identify metrics to measure the core loop. Basis this core loop, identify or build a growth model, basis KPIs, basis metrics. And then from those set of 10, 15 metrics, then identify that, you know, what is the most important KPI or metric which basically influence my product growth. And once you identify, or once you are at step 3, then you have very much clarity. Okay, these are 3 or 4 problems that I want to that I need to address. And to measure or solve these problems, I need to run XYZ experiment. And once I run this XYZ experiment, for each of this experiment, I can actually map this to business as well as to product metrics, which will help us understanding the heartbeat or the health check of our product. And once you run experiments, you will be able to see, oh, I run this experiment, and with this, you know, this metric is basically, there is a surge in this metric. You know, this metric is still not moving, and suddenly you figure out, oh my God, like this is a feature which is like really needle moving in terms of the impact, right? So step 1, step 2, step 3, it is a very systematic process. We can't jump to step 3. We can't jump to step 2. We have to start or identify or establish our core loops. So, so again, it's very important to understand what is core loop, right? So for to better understand this core loop, let's take one example. So we all use Facebook and we all use Instagram, and I'm sure many other TikTok kind of platforms we use, right? So core loop is basically those set of actions or events that basically come in the life cycle of a user, or basically user takes some action uh, to use the product, or basically play with the product to find the, or basically to realize the benefit of the product, right? So it's very much a discovery phase. So when I come to Indonesia, I was actually not using Instagram, I was very much using Facebook. So when I come to Instagram, to Indonesia, the first thing I saw, like in Indonesia, many people are actually using Instagram. Okay, so on a very, sometime over weekend, I was having some free time, and then suddenly the first thing I did was basically do a quick sign up. And then what Facebook did was, because Facebook and Instagram ecosystem is very well connected, the first one action where which I see from Facebook was basically the list of users or list of friends I had on Facebook as a common friends on Instagram, right? And as a user, oh my God, like I find, oh my God, like this friend is also on Instagram. Okay, let me follow, right? And then I followed 1 week back. Since I was like I was not very sure that this is like, a platform I want to use. But again, that curiosity, okay, let's see like what is happening now. And then I suddenly saw like some of my friends are posting pictures from Bali or from other parts of the world. And that's where, I actually got hooked to this product, because those pictures, when you see your friend smiling, or doing some interesting activity, when you also, in a situation like COVID, when you can't see them in real world, you can actually very much see them in a virtual world, right? So that basically defines what is a core loop. So, more in a theoretical language, you can say it is the fundamental set of actions that user takes within the product to realize the benefit of it, right? So there are two types of loops. One is basically internal loop, and second is basically external loop, right? So before jumping into definition, or basically, the types of core loop, let me give you examples of different core loops for different products. Pinterest, what is a core loop? Pinning on Pinterest, right? This game, and then this Facebook posting, Instagram photo sharing. This game, words, is actually about playing words. This is the first thing which you will do when you use these products with a minimal effort. So, so again, before actually jumping into or deep diving into the different type of core loops that we have, let's also figure out how we deduce the value of a core loop from a product point of view, right? So, and these are again, I haven't worked in any of these companies, but this is like, a data which is very much publicly available. So for words, they say that someone who plays a word in 24 hours after install, it is most likely to return next week than someone who doesn't. Whereas for Facebook, user with 7 friends in 10 days likely to retain forever, right? So as a result, measuring these core loop engagement metrics is very important, or is very vital to do health check of your product. All right, so let's move on. What is a product loop, right? So inner loop, outer loop, right? So in let's take example of Facebook. In case of Facebook, what is the low investment thing that we can do? Maybe just liking a post, right? Creating a post is like too much of effort, whereas playing a game is also too much of effort, right? So these all things which are high investment and high return are usually put in the outer circle, and that circle we call it outer loop. So for example, I don't know how many of you have played Farmvilla. It used to be a very popular game, or even if I'm not wrong, it is still a very popular game. So creating a game, playing a games with the friends over Facebook is actually a high investment item, right? And hence we basically park all of these items in the outer loop. But again, these are product core loops. We have to start from inner loop. We can't start from the outer loop. So first we have to start with small micro action things from a user. We tell them, hey, this is the value of the product. Like I give you my example when I used Instagram. So the first amazing thing that Instagram did was like telling me, these 7 friends with whom I'm very close are actually, are also on Instagram, right? And suddenly it clicked in my mind, oh my God, like, looks like this is the thing which I didn't do in my life. And then I suddenly followed them. And then that created, that baked a curiosity in my mind. Okay, now I have followed them. Once they approve, then I might be able to see that what these guys are actually doing on Instagram, right? And then over a period of time, when I, from 0 to like almost 100 friends, and then 300 friends and 500 friends, right? So what I started doing on Instagram is like me and some of my friends, we basically clicked on Instagram Live, right? So that is something which I did very recently after almost spending 2 to 3 months on the platform. And this particular part, which is Instagram Live, is very high investment, because I have to ask and talk to my friends, hey guys, let's do Instagram Live, let's chat, let's talk about college days or school days, right? So, so yeah, it starts with inner loops. And then from inner loop, low investment, daily habit kind of things, we have to move to the upper part of the funnel, which is the outer loop. And to enable these inner loop, we can't expect users to put too much of effort. So it have to be very effort light kind of thing. And that's why if you see most of these social network kind of platforms, their sign up form is very lean. They might ask you like, very basic information, maximum 2 or 3 fields, that's it. They will not ask you a very bulky a form of 10 fields or 15 fields or 20 fields, right? So that is a bare minimum thing. And once you sign up on the platform, they will keep asking you small things over a basis certain events or actions that you do. So for example, I sign up, I had 0 friend, right? I landed, I did my sign up, they show me a feed of 7 friends with whom I interact a lot on Facebook, right? So that was little bit more effort for me to click, add, view their profile. That was the second part, right? After that, I added these friends. So then what happened? Next time I came to platform of Facebook, I already start seeing some of the posts, some of the comments, on those pictures, on those status. And then from those comments and those status or likes, some sort of emojis or expressions that users use, I also discovered many friends. I saw, oh my God, like this XYZ person was also my classmate. Okay, let me send a request, right? And suddenly over a period of 1 year, I had like almost 600, 700 friends. So it cannot start. So in a nutshell, it cannot start with a very heavy investment, small bite-sized kind of investments. And then from inner loop, we'll start moving to the outer loop. And once a user is basically in the outer loop, so that's basically, we say that the product market fit for that particular user is already okay, because the purpose for which the user came on this platform was not very sure. Okay, I go to Instagram, but why I want to use it, right? Maybe on the Google I can read, okay, what is Instagram, what is Facebook, right? But again, those are some of the marketing talks. We don't even know whether the product really have that much of value or not. So yeah, these are like some of the events which we can use to impulse the inner loops. For example, triggers, some sort of push notifications, some sort of emails, some sort of recommendation feeds, some sort of activity like, dislike. And outer loop is again, it's kind of a task. So if I have to play with XYZ person formula, it's very much like a task. I have to, send an invite. First, I have to talk to my friend. And then, once I tell my friend, I basically create a game, I send him an invite, and then we start playing. And once a game is created, now you see how smart Facebook is playing here. So as we are spending more time on the platform, so Facebook is actually able to monetize more. So the data roughly say that every 5 seconds, Facebook is actually making $1 out of us. So imagine if I'm playing 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes from Villa, they're actually already made like 30, 40, $50. But you must be curious, like, why only Facebook make money? Why we don't make money out of using Facebook? I always ask, but I don't have answer. So yeah, this is again modeling for growth. Step 1, step 2, step 3 we already covered. Step 4 is about once we have those KPIs, we create our set of features which basically can solve that problem. And that problem is not actually a problem. It can be something about growth as well, right? So it's not like users are not sign up. It can be like, okay, my sign up rate right now is 23%. I want to make it like 57%, right? So that is also a problem statement. And then basis those problem statements, we define certain actions or experiments. And then, basis those experiments, we do the prioritization. And then there are different models basis which you can do prioritization, effort versus impact versus the trust confidence in terms of if this feature goes live, what is the trust confidence? Is it like 80%? Is it like 90%? Is it like 60%, right? And all these different kind of scoring models that you can use to come up with a fantastic product roadmap. So now that we know, how to, measure a core loop, right? So how should we design a model for our product growth, right? So this have basically different versions, V1, V2, and it basically keeps evolving, right? And that evolution is basically a function of the growth of a company and the stage of the company. So for example, in a very, very early days, install, retention, DAU, right? Now, how you can model your audience growth, right? So for example, okay, now I got these 100 users. What these 100 users are doing, right? So I have to see what is their engagement level. And to measure engagement, it can be returning users, it can be the time spent on the platform, the number of, in case of Quora, it can be the number of questions or the topics, followed the contributions, the likes, dislikes, right? And then basically mapping these metrics over, the monthly, weekly, daily metrics, figuring out, okay, if I acquire 100 customers today, this month, so what percentage of these users are actually using my product in the next month, 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, 4 months down the line. And last but not the least, when we have these 100 users, the most important part is, okay, how we are monetizing from these users, right? And that's where we called, typically e-commerce companies or these startups. They basically use this term called ARPU, which is the average revenue per user. And now, let's say if you are e-commerce users, you basically acquire 100 users, and with that 100 user, your conversion rate is, let's say, 2%. So that means 2 users, right? And from those two users, let's say the product value is 200 rupees. That's like 400 USD kind of GMV, right? Now GMV, sometimes some companies use GMV as a revenue, but some companies just use the margins on that product as a revenue. So it's very different from one company to another company. But in nutshell, whatever money hits your bank is actually, is actually what is captured in Facebook ads or Google Analytics or these kind of platforms as a revenue. Yeah, I mean, this is a very general, modeling of growth, right? And then there are some low frequency products, like for example, travel. So how many times, if we keep aside the business travel, how many times do we actually travel in a year? Maybe twice, maybe thrice, or maximum. If someone is like very, adventurous, he or she might travel 6 or 7 times a year, but not more than this. But if you try to compare it with TikTok or Instagram, I think we open every day 5 to 6 times, right? So one quick question for everyone is, when in your free time, or usually after lunch, what is that one product you use? So when you're basically, you had your lunch and suddenly you came back to, to your seat, or you basically, started, your work. But again, in those white spots, when you're free for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I'm like curious from the audience, like what product do they use, or what exactly do they use? All right. So, oh wow, Facebook. So pretty, common products, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, right? Because these are very habit forming kind of products. And that habit forming product is basically what hook user to the product. And when a customer is hooked, you can basically, maximize your revenue from these kind of users. So that hook is the most important thing, and that hook can be a function of the how you are serving the need of that user, how relevant is your product, what do you say, to the user at different point of time of a day. So for example, if you go to Grab, right? I every day use Grab for commuting, from my office or maybe some another place, right? But one thing which Grab learned that, okay, Tarun basically around 9 a.m. in the morning will book a cab, and then basically, his office is somewhere here, and then somewhere around 7 or 8, he's basically coming back to his home, right? So over a period of like 2 months, 3 months, they basically learned this behavior. And what they started doing was that I opened app, and then this thing was pre-filled. I just have to tap, and suddenly I landed on the payment confirmation page, right? So now imagine that I, as a user, first what I will do, I basically open step 1, I open my Grab application. Step 2, I will click on Grab car. Step 3, I will pick my pickup location. Step 4, I'm going to put my drop location. Step 5 is, what kind of payment option I want to use. Step 6 is basically confirming my booking, right? But in the later part, where Grab already learned and configured the quick actions for me, what I had to do, I had to basically set up my, firstly, I have to, step one is open my Grab application. Step two is there is a card on homepage that basically have all of this information, pick and drop location. I just click there and then directly land on the payment page, right? So now I'm selecting my payment options. Step four, I do the confirmation. From 6 steps, I basically come down to 4 steps, right? So even one level ahead of this, maybe what about if Grab or Gojek basically, since they have this data, they basically start triggering me push notification that, hey, do you want to book a cab? Maybe I usually book at 9, and they might give me a push notification at 8:45, 8:50, 8:30, 8:40, and these are all very data-driven kind of things. And suddenly, my life becomes so efficient, and that's how I got hooked to this product, because it is making my life very easy on daily basis. And anything which add efficiency, as human race is evolving, is always have a pull factor. Yeah, so I think once you have these kind of metrics models, this is how your typical Excel sheet will look like. I'm sure you will be using these kind of keywords: engagement, return rate, lapses, pairs, transaction size, which some people might say average selling price or basket price. What is your conversion rate? What is your retention rate? What is your reactivation rate? How does how your retention cohorts look like? Which means if I acquired a certain user in the month of August, how does the retention look like in the coming months or the coming weeks? So now we know how to measure core loop, and we also have a model for growth. So the next part will be how we can iterate our success state, right? So and this basically success state, I'm sure some people say the main KPI, some people use North Star metric, some people say the P0 metric. So there are different names, but ultimately it is like one single metric, which is the most important metric in that particular situation. So for example, I asked this question that for Gojek, what is the most important metric? And someone replied that it actually also depends on the situation, or also basically the objective, right? So, so yeah, the success metric, or the North Star metric, or P0 metric, or the main metric, it basically that one thing where that will decide the growth of the product, and that growth is basically a function of some of the key drivers. For example, these are my L0 metrics. What are my L1, L2, L3, L4 metrics? And then there are some sanity metrics. There are some vanity metrics, right? So vanity metrics, maybe about your DAU, about MAU, right? But that doesn't give you a signal that whether my product health is good or bad. So yeah, that's how we define the success state. And now it's about identifying the leverage, right? And that identifying leverage is again about what are those levers which are available, which we can pull to maximize our growth, or basically to optimize our growth. And then again, this growth, or these levers, or these factors might change over a period of time. So in a very, very early stage, it might be activation, core loop engagement, early retention, monetization. Growth stage, it can be long-term retention, monetization, some sort of core metric stabilization. And then I was also reading one very interesting article. Someone basically also put the downtime also as a core metric. So and then mature product is identify leverage, optimize what is our lifetime value of a customer, what is my average lifetime value of a user, or adjust this lifetime value of a user, because there are some products, for example, in Gojek or Grab, where it is a multi-category product. So the master product, the main product, maybe the Go Ride, or maybe Go Food, but then there are ancillary products, or there are subcategories as well. So maybe in one category, they may not be they may not be able to make money, but then there are, as a cross-sell function, they are actually able to make money. So it is important to understand the usage of the product, not at category level, but across category level, so that we can get an average lifetime value. So, all right. So let's assume this is again a small case study, right? So product A, they add 100K new users every day, and they retain 5% of the users after 30 days, right? And product team basically have identified or two features idea, right? Two feature ideas. Feature A is basically increasing virality, which is increasing the installs. Feature B is actually increasing the retention. Which one, given this data is available, which feature will you pick? Feature A, feature B. Feature A is about increasing virality. Feature B is about increasing retention. Okay. Any comments? Feature B, since the current retention rate is quite low. Okay. Anyone else? Feature B. Okay. One more response, and then we will move on to the next slide. Tick, tick, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's move on. Yeah. So this is feature A and feature B. So feature A hits 2.5 million users with 5% D30 retention. D30 is like almost equivalent to M0. And feature B hits 2.1 million users with 50% retention. Right? So you know the answer. Let's see how this number look like in 1 year. Feature A product hits 4 million users with 5% D30 retention. Product hits 5.5 million users with 15% D30 retention. Right. So now you see this basically goes down to that financial term which is called compounding effect. Right. In the very early stage, so for example, if I'm spending X dollar, and with those X dollar, I'm able to get 100K users. And with those 100K users, my retention rate is 5%. Then with feature B, with same amount of money, I'm actually able to increase my retention 50 to up to 15%. So now these are two situations. So fast forward, you have to see that, okay, now we are at scale X. 1 year down the line, we will be at 2X, 3X, and 4X. So the gap will also move in the same multiplier. So if my gap is, let's say, 30%, so imagine with 5X growth, the gap will basically even widen. So it is like very much like that running train. If you miss the first bogie, so the second one or the third one or the fourth one is only which you can catch up. So that's why it is very important in an early stage growth company to identify what are my growth metrics. Where should I invest the most? Should I right now focus on growth? Should I focus right now on retention? Should I basically do something at the intersection? It is okay to sometimes think more about retention, because startups have this culture, grow fast, run fast, raise more, right? So we are always in that rat race, of basically growing fast. But again, that core thing which we always miss out is that, is this growth sustainable, right? What if it's okay, I can raise $10 million, I can raise $20 million, and I can I can infinitely increase my marketing budget, but is that sustainable, right? And that's where we have to put the business hat as well, that how this growth can be sustainable, how I can optimize my growth, right? Maybe for 2 months, let me focus and pick some of the features more about retention, and maybe 3 months down the line, I will think again start thinking about growth. And sometimes you have to take some tough calls, that okay, I'm compromising a little bit on the growth, but my most important thing to address right now is retention. Because if we are building, if we are if the growth is actually a function of capital and your retention is actually going down, it means it's a leaky bucket. And as you put more dollars or more water into that leaky bucket, it is definitely going to leak. So yeah, so once you have identified those leverage points, right, so you basically start doing that ruthless prioritization of the features or the products in the roadmap. And then this is a typical a product roadmap life cycle looks like. You brainstorm, you ideate, you define, you set goals. And when I'm talking about define, it is about defining the problem statements. You add to the list, you do some sort of prioritization, you can use your own multiple parameters to do prioritization. Once there is a prioritization is done, you basically look at, okay, what is my engineering capacity? How many backend, how many front-end engineers I have, right? And then from that capacity, nowadays engineering also have their own tech depths. Sometimes they take 10%, 15%, 20%, and you have to do that negotiation with the engineering. And you do the prioritization, you start building your product, you start measuring your product, you start basically iterating, updating, making some changes in the experiment and so on. So yeah, we talked about 4 things. Understand the core loop. That is, what is that minimal thing which you can ask from a customer so that they can trial your product. And then once they trial the product, you basically engage them with small micro events or ask, and then you take them to the outer loop. Once you identify this outer loop, inner loop, you basically have to model your growth. Like, what are those KPIs? Like, what are available KPIs which I can leverage? And these are like very much your levers which you can boost to increase the growth. And once you have identified those levers, you basically get into this thing of product roadmap where you prioritize and build, right? Just quick question. Did all of this add up for the product over time, right? How do we measure this? So imagine, we basically built a product. How would you measure this, right? So, and that's where, we have this most important health metric is lifetime value. And lifetime value is actually, is a function of retention and basically average revenue per user, right? If your retention is high, the customer is coming back again and again to the platform, and then basis those revisits or multiple actions or second time journeys or multiple journeys. If customer is exploring a product, is buying multiple products, so that means in every event you are able to monetize the product. So which means if first time I go, I book, I basically order food using GoFood. Second time I come, I do the Go Ride. Third time I come, I basically have this service of picking some items from some retail shop. Right? Every time I'm coming, I'm doing certain actions, and when I'm doing certain actions, I'm actually using some services. When I'm using some services, that company is actually making money. Now imagine if there is a user who visits 3 times and basically do 3 bookings, whereas there is a user who only come once, just use the promo for the first time of 20,000, rupiah, right? And next time he doesn't come, right? Where exactly company is making more money? maybe in the first part, right, where the user had come multiple times. So that's why you sometimes have seen that if your product have value, sometimes these companies give you a series of promo, like 5 promos, 10 promos, when you sign up, right? And they give you promo because they want you to trial that product. And they want you to trial that product so that they can also learn your behavior on that platform. And that is a kind of bribe they basically give us. Okay, there may be some things which are not working very well. We are giving you some promos, which is a product discount. So please use our product, and then we will basically improve the product over a period of time. So yeah, measuring LTV over time reveals changes in the engagement, retention, monetization. So yeah, I think over to you.